In Myrtle Beach, you always go at your own pace. Lie out on the sand, lie out by the pool, go boogie boarding, go surfing, walk the boardwalk, walk the marsh walk, golf at one of 90 golf courses, mini golf at one of 50 mini golf courses, fish off a pier, fish from a chartered boat, go shopping, get drinks, eat the freshest seafood. The list is exhaustive, but the experience isn't. You can go all out or do nothing at all. How you relax is up to you. There is so much to do and explore, whether you're traveling with friends, family, or just yourself. With 60 miles of beach, you're going to find your place. If this sounds like what you need, then this is where you belong.
Realtree has always had a connection to the fishing industry and the outdoor lifestyle. In 2016, Realtree expanded on the traditional business of creating the world's most effective camouflage patterns to create a fishing brand and family of patterns designed to connect the woods to the water and strengthen the bond between the two worlds. We couldn't be more excited to be working with the industry's top brands, retailers, and anglers to continue our growth, and we hope that you will join us. Enjoy Realtree fishing patterns inshore, offshore, on the lake, or at the dock. Learn more about the extensive line Realtree fishing patterns, apparel, gear, and more at Realtree.com.
Hey, do y'all like fishing for prizes? Maybe a trip to Costa Rica or a once-in-a-lifetime African safari? Well, the Grand Strand Fishing Rodeo is back. Thanks to the hard work of Visit Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and Trilogy Outdoors Media, this once-popular event is back and is bigger and better than ever. This event is comprised of 12 monthly competitions that culminate in November with our annual banquet and expo, the celebration of fishing on the Grand Strand. New to this event is the freshwater division that will help include all of our anglers that live and visit the Grand Strand throughout the year. Monthly species winners will receive great prize packages from Bass Pro Shop and Surf Signs and Designs. But most importantly, they will receive an invite for them and a guest to our annual banquet and an entry in the grand prize drawing. So whether you fish the rivers, a pond, the pier, the surf, or a boat, you have a chance to win the grand prizes. To get signed up or for additional information, visit TrilogyOutdoorsMedia.com and click on event. Also, you can visit any of our weigh stations and registration stations to get signed up as well. Thanks to our wonderful sponsors, South Atlantic Bank, Surf Signs and Designs, Bass Pro Shops, Trilogy Outdoors Media, Visit Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and many more. Best of luck to everyone, and we'll see you at the scale.
Trilogy Outdoors.
All right, folks, welcome to Trilogy Outdoors Podcast. This would be our episode 43, 44, 45, I don't know. It's
getting up there.
One thing, it's our second episode of 2023, and as we discussed last week's episode, big things to happen in 2023, including some incredible added video, and I got to tell you, y'all did a great job on the dive.
Did you see some of it?
Yeah, man.
Excellent.
Some of the dive video is really good. And you wrote a great article for the magazine this month, and I was laughing because you said it wasn't what you started off with, but then after I read it, I'm like, man, dude, this is perfect.
I don't know. It was not what I started out to write. I started out to write sort of a functional spearfishing story about how to and maybe even an experience or two. Ended up writing sort of an amorphous, emotional. I don't even know how to describe it, but anyway, it was not what I intended on writing, but it's what came out. So
it's going to be great. Whoever picks it up is going to love it. I tell you, it's awesome. And I'm just going to say this much: the magazine goes to print tonight, and wow, it turned out great. Adding all these incredible writers has just really been great over the last month, and I'm looking forward to adding this next person as a writer. Our guest today has been a friend of mine for quite a while. I've had him on the Southern Anglers radio show. Capt Cefus McRae of Nuts and Bolts of Fishing, probably one of the most genuine personalities in all of outdoor television, and I say that having met, known, and introduced to many of the personalities out there. His television show inspires a ton of people to get out in the water. And, I know he enjoys the fact that after his 30 minutes of Nuts and Bolts of Fishing, that whoever watched it, you've been entertained and you've been educated. And I'm going to unmute and bring in our guest today, Captain Cefus, thank you so much for taking the time to hang out with us today.
Oh my gosh, what a pleasure to be with you guys.
Man, I tell you, you are a busy, busy man, and I know I got lucky last week and caught you as you were making a trip from one function to another. And then last weekend you were busy chasing stripers in a tournament, but nuts and bolts of fishing keeps you busy, doesn't it?
It really does, and it's a lot of fun, Cap. Pretty much every week, every weekend, it's one place or the other. Whether it's the Carolinas or Florida or Louisiana, we try to hang close to the southeast, just from a travel perspective. But it's a lot of fun too. You get to meet a lot of great people, see a lot of great places, and sometimes catch a whole lot of fish.
Well, I've watched you catch a lot of fish through the years. There's no doubt about it. And I'm going to have to guess, and I think I've asked you this before on the radio show, but I'm going to guess that stripers have become the most near and dear to your heart. Is that about correct?
You know what? I certainly love striper fishing. And because I live here on Lake Hartwell in Northeast Georgia, and I'm, 75 steps from the boat dock. I guess it would be considered sort of a convenient fishery for me. And that doesn't diminish how much fun they are to catch. But my heart, quite honestly, is kind of the way I was brought up as a youth. My heart lives about 40 miles offshore. I just absolutely love that azure blue water, the thrill of putting out or a nice bait spread, and you never know what's going to come calling. It could be the man in the blue suit, it could be a nice cobia, a kingfish, dolphin, a wahoo, and that's, to me, that still really just gets my motor running.
Well, they say fresh water's for drinking and salt water's for fishing. I mean,
that's right.
That is that. And Steven says that without a smirk on his face, and he feels that genuinely. But Steven spends more of his time under the water, Cefus.
Oh wow, yeah. Okay, cool.
He likes to spend a lot of his time under the water, but
I do. But we'd spend some time above the water on
a lot.
Day before yesterday, Saturday.
Day before yesterday.
Yeah, we had a good trip offshore. We were chasing. We were attempting to chase the elusive blackfin, since I had 3 people on my boat that were in the Grand Strand Fishing Rodeo, and they were all attempting to put a big blackfin on the boat for the rodeo, because they all want that trip to Costa Rica or Africa.
Yep.
And I'll tell you, I bet we went through 30 bonita before. Well, we'd never caught the blackfin. I mean, you could not get through the blackfin to get to the bonita. There was just bonita after bonita after bonita, and then we started getting, all our bonita started getting eaten. Sharks were terrible once you got to the hole. I mean, if you could get south of the hole or north of the hole, you could actually get a bonita to the boat. But once you got in the hole and you hooked into them, all of a sudden you just started reeling in head after head after head of bonita.
Yeah, I heard it was terrible.
It was hard. So we caught a bunch of fish. It was busy all day long, but all bonitas. We caught a bunch of bottom fish. Some that we could keep and some that we couldn't. Caught a couple really nice lane snapper.
Lane.
Yeah,
they can come to the hill.
Yeah, they can. Yeah, they're legal.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they're legal.
Yeah.
Big yellow eyes. We caught some that were probably 12, 15 pounds.
Wow.
Which I've never caught a lane snapper that big. So
that's more than a taco. Yeah.
Yellow eyes. The commercial guys call them yellow eyes. But yeah, I mean they're big red, not red snapper, lane snapper, and we ate well. We've got good groceries, but we were not successful in the Grand Strand Fishing Rodeo. We did weigh. One of the people on the boat, Inglis, weighed
a black bass and a white grunt, right?
Black bass and white grunt, but the black bass was only like 1.5 pounds, and I heard somebody weighed a 3-pound bass.
Yeah, the 3-pound bass is leading now in the white grunt. See, but we got a big fishing tournament, Stephen and I, and Trilogy Outdoors, along with Visit Myrtle Beach, started. It's called the Grand Strand Fishing Rodeo here. It's a year-round tournament. And it's rodeo format. Every month, what we've got is basically 9 species: 6 saltwater and 3 freshwater. And you qualify by winning a monthly species. You have to win one of the monthly species, and you qualify for our grand prize drawings that'll be next November. And we've got a trip to Costa Rica. We've got a South African safari, among many other things and trips as well. But it's just we kind of are now starting to stand up. We started crawling. Now we're starting to stand up and walk, and we're going to start running. You know how it is here on the Grand Strand. I want to talk about that too, but you know how the Grand Strand is. When spring rolls around, it's craziness here. So
it gets stupid. Exactly. Yeah.
And our objective, and I'll say this on the air, and we've said it before, and I published it this month. Our objective is to make this the largest fishing tournament in the United States.
How cool is that?
Yep. And we won't. You can be in a pond, on a pier, on the surf, on a boat, on the dock, on a lake, in the river, and have a chance at winning. A 2-ounce brim can win the same thing at the end of the day that a 100-pound wahoo does.
You know what? I commend you guys for that, because y'all leveled with what you described. Y'all leveled the playing field there. There are a lot of tournaments that if you can't get, there are days, especially there off Myrtle Beach, out of the inlet. You can't even get out of the inlet.
Right.
Because it's nasty. And somebody with a small boat, they've got to fish for flounder or specks or a red, and then everybody else in the sport fishers can make it through the cut. And you might I say this jokingly, but you might as well in a small boat just turn around and go home.
Yep.
And by leveling the playing field like that, first of all, it sounds like you get all kinds of engagement. You get kids, you get the ladies involved, you get, the weekend warriors, and you get the guys that are a little bit more than weekend warriors that are passionate, truly passionate about it. So that's awesome.
You know what we got right now is, so all the charter captains, this time of the year is their slow season. They're not as busy. So I've had a big group of charter captains that have signed up, and they are all trying to win as many species as they can right now while they can fish. And it has been just this morning, I had our I think we have 8 youth that are signed up right now that we know of. But they're fishing for everything, though. One of our youth weighed in and just knocked off one of our charter guides for the biggest white grunt. Of course, we got a lot of we got a lot of time left in January, but we had a 12-year-old weigh in a 2.8-pound white grunt today to take the lead and take it back from a charter captain. So
that's awesome.
It is great, and we wanted to. The main thing we wanted is to make it so that everybody can compete, and we added freshwater because. I know you spent a lot of time here. You lived here, didn't you, for a while?
I was raised in North Carolina, just about 50 miles from Charlotte, and so my entire youth was spent pretty much from Georgetown to I guess it would be Little River.
Yep.
And fished every back bay, creek, muddy creek, standing in knee-deep gumbo, seining for shrimp, and then running offshore on, head boats and sport fishers. It don't take too long when you're 7 or 8 years old for that just to get in your DNA.
That's right. My partner across the table from me, that's his life story as well. He grew up doing the same thing, and unfortunately, I came along a little bit later. I vacationed here, but didn't fish as much. But now it's in my blood, and I can't think of a better way to spend time than out there on the water. But we have, with this rodeo, the excitement about it has been great. And you mentioned it. The playing field is so fair for everybody, and that's that was the main thing. We wanted that, and we want the tourists that are coming into town. We want them to want to sign up. We want them to come back and come back in November next year and be involved in our celebration of fishing and our expo that we're going to have. And I think we'll even send you an invite. We'd love to have you and Buck the Wonder Dog come down and hang out with us next November too.
I'm there. Yeah, I'd love to do that.
Your schedule is crazy.
Too much fun.
Your schedule's crazy. I know. Well, now, how many shows do you do a year? Let's talk about that first. How many episodes do you try to do a year?
Okay, well, as you well know, Mother Nature has the ace in the hand. We try to do 26 shows a year.
Wow.
And that's our goal. Sometimes we get 26. Occasionally we'll get 27 or 28, and sometimes we get 18. And it's like anything else. With the technology that we've got today, it does help a lot. Things like fish mapping and, of course, live target and stuff like that. But there are just days that you have to stay on the porch because Mother Nature is not going to let you get out there. And we have to plan our schedule, 3 to 6 months out. And there's a lot of, oh my gosh, what are we going to do now that comes around? And you may go, plan on doing a Spanish mackerel episode and get out there, and the only thing that will bite are black bass.
Yep.
or whatever. So guess what? We're doing a black bass show today, guys.
Exactly.
But we try to keep keep a fresh look on the air. It doesn't always work out that way, but that's a goal we set.
Well, you do a good job of it, and you've been doing it for a long time. Let's talk about that. How long has Nuts and Bolts of Fishing been around?
Okay, the moniker has been around for, well over 20 years.
Right.
We started out it was sort of accidentally because we were doing a lot of, let me back up. I own a PR firm and a production company out of Atlanta. And one of our fun things to do, and one of the categories that kept us pretty busy, was producing outdoor programming. We go way back to, I don't know how many people will remember this, but we go back to the Nashville Network. And that's a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And we would produce shows for the Nashville Network, hunting and fishing shows. We did a lot of, back in the days, the Bass Trail, the Forest Wood, when that was, really kicking off and gaining notoriety via television.
Right.
And things just kind of evolved over the years. We had a company off the West Coast that I guess had seen some of the credits on programming or whatever, and contacted us and asked if we could do a series of how-to videos on DVD. This was, well before the advent of YouTube.
DVD.
Yeah, believe it or not, how many people even have a DVD player these days?
Right.
And so they asked us to produce this series of how to operate a boat, navigation skills, safety. So basically everything that revolved around boating for the novice, first-time boat owner, or maybe somebody stepping up to a bigger boat and they're getting twins. How do you run twin motors? And also produce DVDs specific to species. And we had our hands full, but decided we could probably do that. And then it came down to, well, who's going to be on camera to talk through all this stuff? So we sat around the conference table and we played rock, paper, scissors, and I lost, which meant that I had to be the guy in front of the camera instead of the guy behind the camera. So over the course of 4 or 5 years, we wound up it was purely accidental, but we looked around, we had nearly 100 titles of these how-to videos. And then I guess it would have been, I just did the math a little while ago, 15 years ago now.
Right.
A really good friend, an icon in the industry, O'Neill Williams,
O'Neill Outdoors.
O'Neill Outdoors, O'Neill Outside, who had been on the air since I think O'Neill probably personally knew Thomas Edison. And he said, hey, you guys want to produce a broadcast series? And I'm like, no, thank you. We got our plate's full. And we had just cranked up our 2 tackle lines, Project X tackle and Whoop Ass tackle. And he said, dude, think about it. You can market your tackle, you can advertise your tackle on the air. And it was like, okay, that was sort of an epiphany kind of in a moment. And so that was in, was that 2008? Yeah, that's 15 years. We started off on Fox Sports, produced a pilot. They looked at it and said, give us 25 more. And that's kind of, it's been that way ever since. It's been a great ride, a lot of fun, and a lot of fish caught, a lot of anxious moments, a lot of stupid moments, but it's all been a hoot.
Yeah, those stupid moments happen. They happen on air
frequently.
But sometimes those are the best.
I think the most viewed as I was looking at the other day as far as Bill Dance clips on YouTube, the most viewed are his bloopers.
Oh yeah,
Bill Dance bloopers, exactly. Yeah,
I mean, people love that stuff.
And the thing is that while you could probably think of something like that to take place or try to stage something like that, I certainly would never suppose that Billy would do anything like that. But that stuff really happens, and it's moments that you wish you could take back in some cases, but it becomes cool TV too.
Yeah.
Have you had a memorable one of those that didn't make it on the air?
Yeah. Yeah, 1 or 2 dozen.
1 or 2 dozen.
Yeah, it's I mean, everything from hooking yourself.
Oh yeah.
To actually, I didn't. I mean, I have to take responsibility for it, but hooking your dog.
Oh boy.
I didn't personally hook Buck. He hooked himself. We had just pulled in a nice striper. We were fishing with live bait with blueback herring. And while I'm holding the fish, chatting about it, we look to the back or toward the stern of the boat, and the same rod that I just caught the fish on was bending down toward the water. Like, how could that possibly happen? Hook's out of the water. The bait, I know you guys have had this happen, bring the fish to the boat, but the bait slides up the leader.
Yep.
So it's actually physically still attached to the line. Mm-hmm. He decided to lick, apparently, nobody saw it. This is conjecture, but he apparently decided to either sniff, lick, whatever, take a taste of the bait, and got a 2/0 circle hook hooked in his lip. And he was trying to get away from the hook, which was in his lip. And that was what was making the rod bend. I looked around, and he never barked, never whimpered, not a tear came to his eye. There was no blood. But I mean, you see that happen and your heart just breaks. Mm-hmm. And so we cut the leader. Fortunately, we're here on Hartwell. I called my vet, and and his receptionist answered the phone. I said, put me on the phone with Matt now. And so Matt the vet comes to the phone, and this guy's a Dr. Pole kind of guy.
Oh, yeah.
Big burly, but been around forever and knows everything there is to know about every animal that's ever walked the face of the planet. And I tears in my eyes. I was welling up. I said, man, I've just hooked Buck. You got a hook in his mouth. And he goes, what time is it? And I was like, what? I'm thinking in my mind, what the heck does that have to do with anything? And he goes, yeah, it's Saturday. I said, it's about 10:30. And he goes, yeah, it's Saturday, ain't it? And I said, yeah. He said, you'll be the third one today. Get him, come on, bring him in. So sure enough, we got him to the vet. He looked at the hook. Again, not a whimper, not a tear. it was obviously aggravating to Buck, but
Right.
no sense of pain that I could see. And he got a pair of channel lock pliers. He said, we need to anesthetize, we need to knock him out for this. So put him on the floor in the lobby of his clinic. And Buck just kind of laid down on the floor there. He was out. He took the channel lock pliers. It's amazing how much skin will stretch before a hook will poke through it from the other side.
Mm-hmm.
Pushed the hook through, clipped off the barb, pulled it out, hit him again with another injection. Buck was like, what in the hell just happened? And I said, we need to bandage him or, mercurochrome or peroxide or what? He said, no, he's a dog. He licks his butt 3 hours a day. A hook ain't going to bother him.
Nope.
Yeah. So that was the name of that. So that was a stupid moment that was, I guess you'd say, well etched in my memory. Nowadays, when we bring a fish to the boat, that hook either goes in a guide frame or back in the water. So
Right.
that don't happen again.
Right. I had a similar experience on my first show that I actually went out to film for my little series that you and I have talked about before that was here. And I had a king mackerel on, and I was talking to my camera guy, had the fish down between my legs, getting ready to reach down and take the hooks off and looking up at the camera, and I felt something in my crotch. And as I looked down, that front stinger hook had slung up and caught my crotch and was still attached to the fish. And I can remember it right now. I'm not going to call out the brand of shorts, but I did have a black pair of shorts that had, at that point in time, was down to my knees and still had the fish on it and the hook in it. And I fortunately got right to the fish and got the hook out the fish's mouth and held the fish up and went through my little spiel talking about the rig I was using and everything else and where we were, released the fish, and then cut. And I looked down, and it was, I don't want to talk about how many centimeters it was away from really causing some harm. But it was, what a way to break the ice and just to realize that, hey, man, this is going to be easy, dude. This is going to be an easy ride. The first fish you catch on camera, you put a treble right through your crotch. But I did get lucky, but that was fun. And it made a blooper. It made a blooper reel that I did because I only did 13 episodes a year. But it did make the 13th episode my end of the year blooper reel. We did put that in there. But it could have gone so many different ways, you know?
Yeah.
That just makes me cringe. Just think for guys that are listening to this podcast, everybody knows what you're talking about. There is no question. That's
All right, I got one. Y'all have done one. I got one for you too. I've got about a dozen too, but I'll give you one. I was fishing a flounder tournament with a buddy of mine up in Little River, Cherry Grove, and somehow or another, my line had gotten tangled around the trolling motor on the front.
Right.
And if you know flounder rigs, it's one of those offset Kale hooks, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So my buddy pulls. I'm standing on the front. My buddy comes up to the front, and I said, "Pull the trolling motor, and I'll undo the line from around the trolling motor from around the prop." So my buddy's got the trolling motor in his hand, and I got the hook in my hand, and I'm untangling it from the prop. And my buddy either slips out of his hands or he drops or whatever. So the trolling motor falls back into the water
With your finger.
and the hook pulls into my finger, drops all the way down again. So that the whole weight of the trolling motor pulled the hook into my hand.
I'm hurting right now.
So I'm hollering. I'm like, pull the trolling motor back. Pull the trolling motor. So he pulled it back up. We cut everything loose, and there was no, like, it had gone so deep I couldn't push it through, right? And I couldn't cut it off, couldn't push it through. So we fished the rest of the day, weighed a couple fish. I think we came in third or something. Went home. He had a couple of not fentanyl patches. That's not the right word. He had a couple.
Not in this day and age.
He had a couple patches that you put on your back. You know.
Oh yeah. I know what they are. Yep. Keep going.
I can't remember the name of the patch, but anyway, the pain relieving patches that you put. So I wrapped one of those around the finger, and I went home and I got a pair of pliers and I started working on it to try to push it out, and I could not push it through the because it was in the muscle too.
Oh yeah.
And it's offset, so every time you push on it, it goes in the opposite direction. And so finally, after working on it a couple hours, we went to the doctor's care, and they shot the finger full of whatever Novocaine, and that doctor put leaned over, put his foot up on the start, where I was laying on the bed, and started pulling with it on a pair of pliers, and I'm pulling back. Couldn't feel my finger, but I'm pulling back, and the thing finally pops through. He cuts it off, pulls it through, got everything done, all good and fine. About the next week, my finger...
it starts infecting.
It started turning brown.
Ooh.
Jeez. And it started scaling up. And, I mean, it looked so nasty. It had scaled up like a... I mean, I don't know how to even describe it, but brown and scaly looking. I got some antibiotics. My finger molted. It was like it was molting like a crab molts, and it did that for months.
Ooh.
I lost all feeling in it. Lost all feeling in it. Couldn't feel the thing for like a year. Finally, feeling came back to it because he dropped that daggum trolling motor.
Yeah, that.
Can we stop this?
I know, and I'm sitting here. I want to tell a story about the circle hook that I got in my finger as I was tying rigs. When I was doing charters, I would always tie like 100, Carolina rigs and have them all ready to go. When I was out on a charter, just retie and go. And I was pulling circle hooks and cinching them down. And what I had done is tied all my leaders, and then I kept pulling and putting my swivel on, and then I would. Anyway, cinch it down. So I grabbed the wrong leader that I thought had a swivel on one end and a hook on the other, and I grabbed the hook end, and I had tied a hook on the other end of it, and when I went to pull it to cinch it, it went in my thumb, a circle hook. Now, it wasn't deep. So I said, all right, this is when, the quick snatch had come about.
Yeah.
So
right.
I go over to a charter captain here's house who said, oh, dude, I'm the best. I'll get it right out. And literally they did the fishing line around it. I stuck my arm on the bumper of my truck in his driveway. And old boy is about 200 pounds of muscle at that time. And he said, all right, I'm going to pull on 3. I'm like, okay, because I'd seen it. It works quick. It's pop. I'm sitting there, and he goes on 2. He goes 1, and he jerks with all his might. And the only thing that happened was he nearly pulled my arm out of socket. But
hook didn't move.
My hook did not move.
Yeah.
So he and Jay Beige were there, and they both just started dying laughing. And I'm like, there's nothing funny about this. Yeah. I could see it when he pulled it, how far the skin stretched, and it didn't come out.
Yeah.
So I went home and got a razor blade, and I said, this is it. So I started cutting at the skin with a razor blade. And after 3.5 hours of complaining to Kim, my wife, she threw me in her car, and we went to the emergency room, and $440 later, the doctor finally got it out there. But it was one of those where, that circle hook does not snatch out. Don't try it. Please don't, people.
Circle
will not
and
snatch
the offset
out.
Kales won't.
No.
No.
Oh, no. God, guys.
I know. Well, hey, that's all right. We love getting off subject here, but that's not off subject. So hey, that's a good.
That happens. That stuff happens. Yeah.
That's a good idea for you, Cefus, for a how-to video.
The
I just
snatch
don't want to
method.
I don't. Somebody's got to be the subject. It ain't gonna be me.
Hey, that sounds like a fun game of paper, rock, scissors.
Yeah. Who's the patsy on this one?
Yeah, who's got to do that?
Gosh.
Now, well, I know. You mentioned 15 years with Nuts and Bolts of Fishing, but you know, so many things that you've done. I mean, you've started. I know when Kenny Moore and I first met, you were writing with you write with Coastal Angler as well, still.
Right.
But when Kenny and I first met, you had, I think, just started the fishing fest that you do.
Yep.
and
And that
it's
that goes back
popular.
a ways, yeah.
It
Yeah.
is
Well,
popular.
we've had again. I've said so many times to a number of people that I meet, when this quits being fun, I'm going to stop doing it.
Right.
And it has not quit. It's still fun every day. The Fishing Fest kind of, again, was sort of an accidental thing. Uh, People would watch the TV show and they would either, drop an email, or I might see somebody at a marina, a boat ramp, or at a boat show or wherever. And they go, hey, when are you coming back to Charleston? Or when are you going to go to St. Augustine again? Or when are you coming to, to Louisiana? Because we'd like just to come along and, fish the same day you guys are fishing, because it looks a lot of fun, and maybe we can learn something. And actually we can learn something from each other. And that there was enough interest that I put out a bunch of emails to folks that had been doing that, and said, hey, we're going to go to Hilton Head this spring. If you guys want to come, whether you got a boat or not, and I'll get us a block of rooms. We'll find a cool place to eat, and we'll have a fun weekend together. We'll make friends. We'll have a great time on the water, and we'll enjoy each other's company. Well, that happened in Hilton Head 12 or 13 years ago. I think there were maybe 30 people. And when it was all done, by the way, it wasn't a tournament. There was
Right.
no cash prize. There was no cost to attend. There's no entry fee to participate. You just had to, pay for your accommodations, of course, and chip in a little bit of money for dinner. And we gave away, the prize was a T-shirt, and we had stupid prizes, which I think made it a lot more fun. We had a prize for the ugliest fish. A couple of years later, we started a prize. Actually, I'm the one that started it. We call it the Chum Bucket, and it is a prize for the first person to puke. And they get, after the tournament on Saturday night, when we have our little awards get together, our celebration banquet, we provide a bucket, a 5-gallon bucket that has a whole bunch of seasick remedies in it. And it's whoever wins the Chum Award over these years, because we do 2 a year, it's like a badge of honor.
Right.
But the whole premise behind the Fishing Fest is we just call it fishing, food, and fun. Since there's no cash prize, there's no cost to enter or anything like that. Now it becomes fun.
Right.
The competition is just friendly competition. There's a lot of dog cussing that takes place, from boat to boat, in a fun kind of way. Everybody's happy that everybody catches fish. And if you wind up being a quarter of an inch shy on a redfish or whatever, then you're happy for whoever else won. And over the years, it's kind of grown organically. We've been all up and down the Gulf Coast, the East Coast. We haven't done one in Merle's Inlet yet, but that's still on the radar.
Yeah, we still got to get to work on that one.
Yeah. And we get folks from all across the country. We get folks from Arizona, from all the way to the West Coast, from Wisconsin, from New England, from Florida, of course, all across the Southeast. And we'll have anywhere from, depending on whether it's a fall event or a spring event, because you got football and school and stuff like that in the fall, we'll have anywhere from 75 to 150 people. And everybody gets together. It's almost like a family reunion, because we got so many people that have never missed one.
Yeah.
I enjoy it. There's a little bit of logistics work to do it, but it's kind of on autopilot. Folks that have been coming to them for years know the drill. We put together a great group of local guides for people that don't have boats or choose not to drag their own. And we fish a couple of days, enjoy the evenings together. We eat like kings. And then Sunday morning, we shake hands, give everybody hugs, and we'll see you in 6 months. So it's a lot of fun, and it's one of those things where, regardless of whether we continue to do TV 10 years from now or not, I think Fishing Fest is one of those things. I'm going to do that till somebody has to, you know, uh, push me in and off the boat.
Well, I'll tell you, it's a great idea. And, thinking from a business standpoint for you, it's awesome because, too, you've got some incredible sponsors. And I've watched a couple of your shows where,
Yep.
you film there. You get those guys involved, and you're able to put their product in all of these people's hands, and most of them end up probably fall in love with the products. And you're arranging incredible guides. I saw all the guides you used down in Charleston.
Right.
Great guides down there, and you introduced them to wonderful restaurants. I think the one I was watching, y'all went to the Crab House or Charleston Crab House, maybe.
Yep. Another iconic place, exactly.
Yep, and it's just great. And then you also got to take. I know you say it's not a competition. It's not, but for the husband and wife that want to travel and do some fishing and say, hey, honey, it'd be nice to take our boat to last when y'all were Crystal River, take our boat down there and let's go enjoy it. But let's go this year and do the Fishing Fest with Cefus, and we'll go down and fish with his guys, and we learn what we're doing, and then next year we'll be comfortable going back. So it's a win for everybody. There's no doubt about it.
Captain, you hit a huge nail on the head there. From a destination perspective, we get a lot of engagement from the chambers, from the tourism boards, because I'm not chest pounding here, but we bring a lot of folks to an area that they may have never been to before, and may have never even, it might not even be on their radar. And once they have the opportunity to experience a Steinhatchee, Florida, or an Apalachicola, they go, wow, where has this place been all of our lives? And now they go, well, we're coming back, as you said, we're coming back in the fall for the trout run, or we're going to come back in the spring and bring the kids or have our family reunion here. And so it's a win-win for everybody. The folks that attend have a big time. The revenue that we bring to the area, of course, is beneficial. And you get to expose people to an area that they may never have thought about going to. That's just an awesome place for fishing.
Exactly. You're incredibly smart at marketing. There's no doubt about it. It's why you're successful at what you do. And I sent you this earlier about ideas and questions, but you've met my friend Barry Stokes and former boss from Let's Fish TV. Yeah. And over the last 4 and 5 years, he and I have had a lot of discussions off the air about how the industry's changing for him, as far as Barry was, all broadcast. Internet stuff was just, social media where, a post here, post there, blah, blah, blah. And then these big sponsors started saying, okay, well, we're going to need this amount of, what do you call it, exposures or whatever on social media, on YouTube and this and that.
Yeah, sure.
It's changed tremendously. How have you kept up with it? Don't you agree it's changed? Do you feel that your interaction is probably just as much, if not more, now on social media and YouTube than it is on the broadcast side of it? And why?
I do think social media has had an impact on all of our lives. It's something that's not going away. So for the folks that have been doing this for a while, like myself, where TV was your only, or radio was your only avenue for a long time, and then social media comes around and it's a whole new beast. It's a different demographic to some degree. With my kids, for instance, back when they were teenagers, I looked at social media and YouTube and things like that as instant gratification. Instead of watching 30 minutes of TV on Saturday morning and then having to wait till next Saturday, they could Google something, how to build a Carolina rig, how to catch crappie, how to build a perfect deer stand, whatever. In 15 seconds and then go do it. Now, that information, you had to tender that with what's the source, because, you know, everybody's got an opinion. But social media as a exposure vehicle is something that is quite honestly rapidly replacing broadcast television. I don't want to say TV is becoming a dinosaur, but comparatively speaking, the audience that you can get through, you know, a Vimeo page, a YouTube page, or just, you know, Instagram, Facebook, through all those platforms, that audience is global all of a sudden. Where a regional television show or even a national TV show, you have a fixed amount, a pool that you can draw from. And now with social media, with YouTube channels, your potential base just grew 50-fold.
Yep.
And so it's for a lot of sponsors, it's a numbers thing.
Right.
How many followers have you got? How many hits can you get? And there's, again, you have to kind of be careful, or at least in my opinion, you got to be careful of the difference between providing good content and just being sensational. You know, getting kicked in the crotch, or, you know, TNA, or just being outlandish for the sake of being outlandish.
We talk about
We
this
talk
all the
about the
time.
TNA part of this.
I mean,
Yeah.
you can jump your likes to 1 million overnight if you're just willing to show a girl in a wet T-shirt reeling in a fish, you know, or a girl in a bikini shooting a gun, or whatever it is. I mean, and
Sure.
and YouTube promotes that stuff the way that it is, because I mean, I every 6 months or so I'll download the YouTube app, and you know, and then it starts populating all the stuff that I like, and I'll go to watch a fishing episode, and then the next thing you know, it's a fishing episode with a girl in a bikini, you know, and then I'll go to watch a machine gun shooting, and the next thing you know, it's a girl in a bikini shooting a machine gun.
Right.
And it just, you know, it forces all of your attention into soft porn, essentially, is what it is. And that's what gets the majority of the likes. I mean, the simplest of things will get millions of views because it's a good looking girl in a bikini.
Yep.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And I just, it just irritates me. And so after about 6 months of watching YouTube on my phone, every single thing has become soft porn, and I delete the app and I start over.
Right.
No,
Right.
I literally 2 weeks ago I deleted the app because I was scrolling through my feed, and every single thing you see is a girl in a bikini or a wet white T-shirt. And it's like, okay, it's time to go. So you delete it and you start over again. And I find that irritating for a couple different reasons. But if you want to put up good content, you're just constantly going to get beat by the guy that puts a girl up in a bikini.
Well, I mean, girls in bikinis can catch fish too. I don't necessarily have a problem with that.
Yeah.
But I agree with you, Stephen. It's for some of us that kind of tend to toe the line a little differently, a little more conventionally, perhaps. My focus is on trying to produce good, authentic, reasonable, practical content.
Yep.
And I've found just from talking to people that I absolutely agree. If you want 1 million hits, do exactly what you said.
Yeah.
But you've got to consistently do that over and over and over again. And after a while, quite honestly, because there have been actually some broadcast programs that were similar to that, and they were highly viewed initially, but after a couple of seasons, their viewership started to fade because it was the same thing over and over again.
Yeah.
And you go, okay, been there, done that, seen that. What else you got?
Yeah.
So, and then they would come. Then what happens is the prodigal son returns. Everybody, just kind of comes back home, and you watch, your your viewership goes back up or where it was supposed to be, or it increases because you're still providing content that people appreciate and want to watch. And quite honestly, it's also, in quotes, family oriented.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So,
Well, I still think that I agree with you thoroughly. We have several female writers for our magazine. There are some incredible ladies in fishing and hunting, all of that. But there are those, just like there are some men that have their YouTube sensations that are out there, and it's only because of the appearance, the TNA, and really not the product knowledge or the knowledge that they have.
But you know how you can tell the difference, though, and because I studied this thoroughly just before I deleted my last app. The way you can tell is the little teaser that pops up when you're scrolling through, the little teaser. If the little teaser is a picture of a girl in a bikini or a girl in a wet T-shirt,
Yep.
If the teaser's you fishing and you just happen to have a girl in a bikini on the boat, then I got it, no problem. I mean, that's
sure.
perfectly acceptable to me. But if the teaser is, here's the girl in the bikini, this is what you need to see, then that's exploitation.
Yep.
And I'll tell you, it gets even worse on YouTube because the way they edit these teasers, there are a couple of these videos where they will literally draw in, I don't know how they do it, Photoshop or whatever, but on the girl in the bikini, they'll literally draw in a little teeny dot where the nipple should be.
Yep.
Right above the bikini line.
You pay attention just like I do the same thing. Keep going.
They will put a little dot there to make you think that's her nipple, that she's got a nipple slip, so that you go watch the video. And if you go watch the video, there is
never even see that same scene.
There's no scene there. There's no nipple slip or anything. It's just to attract your attention.
No wardrobe malfunction.
Yeah, I mean it's exploitation at its worst. And I mean I know sex sells, but it's irritating.
And you can also look at well, let me rephrase that. Most what I would call traditional manufacturer sponsors in the industry will only go so far with providing either funds or product or stuff like that, because they realize that it may sell for a few minutes, but it doesn't put forward the kind of persona that they want, the image that they want, because they know who's buying their stuff.
Right.
And it's guys like you and me, us, and girls are buying. They know who's buying their product, and they know what appeals to them.
Yeah.
So to me, that's kind of social media. I don't want to say at its worst, but that's social media that isn't targeted towards marketing product. I mean, fishing
right.
reels and line and leader and stuff like that, and motors and boats and hulls. That's not where most of these folks are going.
What's it called? Bait and click or click and bait or something? That's all. That's just
bait and switch. Yeah.
Bait and switch.
Yeah.
That's just to get those clicks on that YouTube. Well,
yeah, right.
Switching subjects.
Hey,
go ahead.
I was gonna say more power to the folks that are doing that, because they're making money off the clicks.
They are.
They are.
And so they've cracked the code on this is how they can do a revenue stream. I mean, how many videos are on TikTok that are pointless, but you go, oh my God, and you look at the comments, and most of them are, that's 20 minutes of my life I can't get back.
Oh, my kids.
But they got 10 million hits, and they just made $10,000.
My kids, I got a 7 and a 9-year-old about to be, and they, if I'm not constantly hovering over what they're watching on YouTube when they watch YouTube,
That makes two of us.
If I'm not, you walk in here and they're watching the most stupid stuff. Like,
yeah.
I walked in the other day and they were watching, I'm sleeping in my closet for 24 hours. That was the video. That was the YouTube video, and they were just hooked to it. This guy sleeping in his closet for 24 hours. Why in the world are you watching this idiotic thing? And it's got 10 million views.
Go figure.
Go figure. It is just the most ridiculous, stupid stuff you've ever seen.
I was at Walmart with Russ, my 6-year-old. He had a $20 gift card that a family member had given him for Christmas, and we were there Friday afternoon. And we go to the counter to check out. He's already picked out what he wanted, and we're cashing out. And he goes, there's a chocolate bar to the right. And I've never seen them before. And literally just mixed in with Reese's, with Twix, with Snickers. And it's a little blue box of a chocolate bar. And he goes crazy. And he grabs one. And I'm like, dude, you don't eat these. Oh, my gosh. I saw his videos on, this is incredible. He goes to Willy Wonka's factory and all this other stuff. Well, I had to buy it.
Yeah.
I bought it.
Great marketing.
And we got home and we started watching these YouTube videos. This guy is the guy who came up with this has made more money than anybody on YouTube, on TikTok. I ended up getting so intrigued by it that I started watching his videos to see how he does it. And he I mean, this guy goes all day long. He'll work some 24-hour days. He's on like 9 different platforms, and he's got like 8 different video persona, whatever. But this guy's nuts. And my 5-year-old had seen the YouTube video and knew about his chocolate bar and just wanted it because it was his.
Yeah, sure.
So we got it. But anyway, that was crazy. I know we're getting off subject, and there was something else I wanted to ask you, and another one that I texted you about. So our good buddy Nick Lopes from down here came up, and I set him up with you for a charter. Are you still doing charters, or have you gotten busy?
Well, yeah, I'm going to fish anyhow. If I've got somebody on the Buck has heard all of my jokes, and so the two of us I'll say something to him, and he just kind of looks at me and puts his head back down. So I'm going to fish anyhow. It's fun to have somebody else, a fresh face on the boat, and it's so much fun to see you run charters, English. I've caught plenty of fish. For me, the thrill is seeing the smile, the expression, the excitement, the adrenaline on somebody else when they hook into a fish, big or small. Right. But when that rod bends, that to me, that's just super cool. So I still run charters here on the lake. I don't do charters per se on the salt simply because the number of licenses and that you got to have and
it's
permits
crazy
and stuff like that. It's just cost prohibitive unless you're going to do it, there, in Garden City or in Charleston or something like that. That's when it becomes practical. So what I'll do is, we do the fishing fest. I'll do a bunch of buddy trips. We do a lot of corporate stuff where I've got a group of individuals that want to, play golf for a couple of days and fish for a couple of days. And so I'm more like an outfitter, and just hook them up with guides. I'll go along and fish with them. And if somebody comes on the boat, then it's just a buddy fish trip. But I do as much or more charitable kind of trips here on the lake and around the Southeast for wounded warriors, for kids organizations. We do a lot of stuff with a group called Hands of a Sportsman that work with a lot of challenged individuals. We do one thing that I started doing some years ago is, and I call it hometown heroes. So it's somebody will just drop me an email and say, hey, there's a school teacher, an EMS person, a firefighter, a police officer, a law enforcement officer that changed our lives, saved our lives, helped our family, whatever. They're an upstanding member of the community, and we couldn't do without them. Guess what? We're going to do a TV show and talk about what they did and how much it meant to the people that they helped, and take them fishing for a day. That's good content. It's great views. It's good content. And it's what it does is it recognizes people that might not otherwise get the recognition that they truly deserve. For firefighters and first responders that I take out, it's a day that they can put the rest of the world in a different bucket for a little while. And you see just this transformation of, wow, I can just sit out here on the water, whether we catch a fish or not, that's a bonus. I just enjoying the time that I can put everything else on hold for a little while and relax and enjoy, Mother Nature out here. That to me, I would do that every day if I could.
Well, Cephus, first of all, I want to thank you for coming on. This has been a great episode, and you have shared a lot of your wisdom, and
it's nice just chatting.
It
sure,
was
same here.
It was. You're a down to earth guy. I like that about you, and heard a lot of good things about you from English. So.
Kind of like a Mark Davis.
Yeah,
genuine.
Yeah,
Mark doesn't hold his tongue back much.
Hey.
Mark.
I don't know if I rise to quite the stature of Mark, but thank you. I'm glad that I'm happy to be in the same pile.
Actually, I got one more for you, English, before you go.
All right.
First of all, y'all are gonna have to forgive me. I'm recovering from a cold, so I've been coughing this whole time. I've been trying to hit the cough button by holding.
He has. I wish I had video of him. He's done everything but put his headset in his hoodie. He's put it down into his hand pockets there to hide it so he could cough.
Yeah. I'm recovering, so I'm in the coughing stage. But anyway, I got one more for you, English. Okay?
Yep.
Yeah. And Cephus. So I was on the tuna tower of a boat. This was years ago. I was 18 years old. So years ago, I was on the tuna tower of a boat. And I could not tell you. I know what the problem was, but I'm not going to say it. I couldn't tell you exactly what the problem was, but anyway, I ended up falling off of the tuna tower of the boat when we were fishing.
Okay.
Ended up falling off the tuna tower. This is a fairly high tuna tower, and I hit the gunnel on the way down with my butt.
Oh.
And I fractured my coccyx.
Oh, I've heard coccyx breaks are the worst.
I fractured
that never heals. Yeah,
I fractured my coccyx. But what made it worse is when I rolled off of the gunnel, they had just pulled a wahoo in the boat, and he had been caught on one of these big Yozuri plug type things that had big giant treble hooks. When I rolled off, I rolled onto the fish and onto the plug, and the treble hook from the plug went into my calf muscle.
Oh,
jeez!
So I broke my coccyx, and I got a treble hook through my calf muscle. My calf muscle, y'all. I mean, my coccyx. I had to have surgery on it. I mean, it was bad, but my calf muscle, like, immediately cramped with that hook in it, and it was a cramp that would not go down for 3 days. I had to have the thing surgically removed. And my calf muscle didn't go down for 3 days. It was a 3-day cramp. I don't know if you've had a 3-day cramp.
Yeah.
But it is the worst thing on earth. Next to breaking your coccyx, it's the worst thing on earth. It was the worst week of my life.
Oh, I can imagine.
God.
Anyway. That's
the last thing.
I got more, but that's the last one.
Oh, he's got more. By the way, he broke his back on a safari in Africa, in the outback, and had to live with a medicine doctor in a tribe for 24 hours. The medicine doctor tried to treat him, and he had to watch Michael Jackson VHF.
Thriller.
Yeah, VHF nonstop while he was laying on the floor waiting on someone to come find him.
Thriller.
He's got some incredible stories. He's been all over the world. Yeah.
That was a loop. That was a loop of Michael Jackson Thriller. It was a little VHF, black and white VHF TV. And they had stolen power. This is a little teeny village. It only had like 7 or 8 huts in it, okay? And they had one well in the middle of all the huts. And they had stolen power from like 10 miles away from a main road, and they ran it on bamboo poles. They insulated this live wire by running it on top of bamboo poles all the way to the medicine man's hut. And then they ran the live wire through dried grass thatch roof. Live wire right through this grass thatch. And the only thing that live wire ran was that black and white TV. And
oh, my goodness.
And the only thing he could play on that TV was a VHF Michael Jackson Thriller. And that's all I watched while I was in Israel.
But Cefus, you got to hear about what was chasing him. What was chasing him that put him in the hole to break his back?
I was going to say, what was it?
What was it?
It was a honey badger.
Honey badger.
Well, they're mean.
And he had a gun, though. He had a gun.
I wasn't going to shoot it, though, because we were stalking. There was a herd of sable we'd been stalking for like 6 hours. And I wasn't going to give up on the sable. I was just trying to run away from the honey badger. I'd crawled to the top of this hill, and this honey badger's right on the other side of the hill. He starts chasing me, and I pick up and run, and that's when I fell in the warthog hole and broke my back.
Good Lord. Jeez.
Anyway.
There's a book, Stephen, there's a book in all of that.
There is.
That's way off topic.
There's bestseller right there.
You want to talk about off topic? That's way off topic.
Way off topic. Well, I tell you what, we're going to have a link to Nuts and Bolts of Fishing in this when we put it up on all our podcast platforms. But give that out real quick. What's the best way to go check out what's going on with Nuts and Bolts of Fishing, Cefus?
The nutsandboltsfishing.com is a way. To catch our broadcast, it's Fox Bally Sports. And for folks that are, perhaps outside of our broadcast footprint, then a great way to catch all of our episodes, we've got 6 or 7 seasons up now, is on Carbon TV. It's just carbontv.com.
That's right.
And you catch all our episodes there. If you got trouble getting to sleep one night, click on Carbon TV, find the Nuts and Bolts channel, hit go. You'll be asleep in, a minute and a half.
No, they'll be up all night. They'll be up all night.
Great way to pass the time.
No, yeah, it is a great way to pass time, but not because you're gonna be asleep.
That's right. They'll get into it, buddy. Well, listen, man. Thank you so much for taking the time, and you and I'll be talking real soon, man. We look forward to having you writing in the magazine. So take care and have a great day. Tell Buck the Wonder Dog we said hello.
All right, same to all y'all. Catch him up. We'll see you soon.
All right, buddy.
Bye-bye.
Bye. All right, the one and only Captain Cefus McRae. He's a great guy. By the way, I hope we get to meet him in person, and he has. I want to say Kenny. I'm putting it on Kenny for dropping the ball, but he was all about bringing the Fishing Fest here to the inlet. And when Kenny had the magazine, and Kenny dropped the ball on it, we never got to work on it. But he does bring, like he said, crowds of 100 people to come into town to fish. So it's great for the economy, great for everything. So we'll have to follow up with him on that. But anyway, Grand Strand Fishing Rodeo is hot. Get signed up. Make sure you're on there. If you go to TrilogyOutdoorsMedia.com, you can find the login and sign up at Eventbrite under events. Click on Grand Strand Fishing Rodeo. Get signed up. And the new magazine will be out this week. So don't forget to pick that up. And as always, Saturday mornings, we're on the Gator 107.9 Southern Anglers Radio Show. Stephen is off to the State House this week. Back to work.
Back to work, yep.
Back to work. Life is, all that vacation is coming to an end. Like you don't work all the time. But anyway, it's back to the State House. Anything, what's big? What's going to be big? We got a couple minutes.
Yeah, I mean, the Supreme Court struck down the state's abortion law, so we will be back at abortion again.
Yep.
It's just unbelievable. It's like every single year, the saga that never ends is abortion. It is important. I'm not downplaying that. It's just like when you've debated it and decided it and taken tough vote after tough vote after tough vote, it at some point you just want it to end, and it has not ended. And so anyway, that'll be up. Some people are calling it a Yankee tax. I don't call it a Yankee tax, but my quote-unquote Yankee tax will be up for debate this year, and that's essentially where folks that move from out of state and come here have to sort of catch up with the rest of us that have been paying for the roads and the bridges and the utilities and the water and the sewer and the infrastructure that we all live with. We've paid those over the course of our life. The people that move here, wherever they're from, the people that move here haven't paid anything, and all of a sudden they come here and they take advantage of everything that we've paid for and built. And I just find that to be an incredibly fair system.
And or they come and complain about what we don't have.
Right.
So here's your chance to make a difference, people.
And to make it even worse, English schools, for instance, we have to anticipate the growth here in South Carolina. we have to anticipate the number of kids that will be in school next year and 5 years from now. And we have to build schools in advance of those kids even getting here. So you and I, who've lived here our whole lives, and probably a lot of our listeners, are paying for schools in advance of the New Yorker or whoever, New Jerseyite, Ohioite, whoever. We have to pay in Buckeye. We have to pay in advance for them to even get here, and I find that to be incredibly unfair. And so anyway, my bill says that when they get here and they transfer their driver's license, they have to pay a $250 fee to transfer their driver's license to South Carolina, which goes to roads. It goes to roads and bridges. It goes to education, the building of schools, and it goes to developable green space. So if there's, for instance, around here, we have a lot of golf courses that are being redeveloped.
Right.
If the community around the golf course says, we don't want it to be redeveloped into 500 track homes or 1,000 track homes, we want it to stay a golf course or we want it to stay green space, county council can't do that right now. They don't have the tools in their tool belt to do that. They can't just say no to a developer if it's already been zoned for high-density housing. So this would give county council a fund, a tool in their tool belt to be able to say, no, Mr. Developer, we really don't want to do that. We know we can't just take your land. We have to compensate you for it. So here's whatever, $1 million to compensate you for that. We're going to keep it. We're going to turn it into a park. We're going to turn it into a municipal golf course, whatever it might be. So roads, bridges, schools, and the purchase of developable green space is what the fund that the out-of-staters would be paying would go to.
That's great. So this is so has it, did y'all, well, you weren't in session in the fall. What am I thinking? So has it been read before or brought?
No, this will be the first. So I wrote the bill in the off season, and this will be the first time that it's debated coming up here in the spring.
What's your overall response from? Because you've already sent it to some of your. How does that work? So what you pretty much send it out.
I've shared it with all my colleagues, and pretty much overwhelming support for it in the Senate. I'm sure there'll be support for it in the House too. I don't know how much, but as far as the community goes, people that live here love it.
Right.
People that don't live here yet but are planning on moving here hate it. I have had hundreds of emails from people
I can imagine.
From New York and New Jersey that are just mad as fire. How dare you? I thought y'all were a conservative state. I was moving here to get away from that kind of stuff. Yeah, I understand. I get that. You know what? But at the end of the day, the people that are already here are paying for you to move here. I mean, literally.
Yep.
We're paying for you to have the quality of life while diminishing our quality of life. We're paying for you to have a better quality of life while diminishing our quality of life because
I support you 100% in this. And I'm not saying that just because we're business partners, but I do. This is great. And I know we've had talks about the way we're losing areas here to growth, and growth is great, but at some point in time we're running out of room. And not only that, but there may be some more room, but the infrastructure cannot keep up.
Can't support it, and the people that live here can't continue to support the growth. The people that are moving here have to start supporting the growth, and a lot of the people that move here are retired, and so they're not paying income tax.
Yep.
They're not. I mean, they're paying sales tax when they buy something, but the majority, like 35% of the state's budget, is income tax. So I mean, they're not paying. They're not paying for any of this stuff. So we've got to do something different.
Well, I got to put you on the spot for 1 minute.
Yeah.
So the new 25-mile-an-hour speed zone in Murrells Inlet. Yeah. Did you have anything to do with that?
Maybe a little bit. Yeah.
I'm just kidding. Maybe. I'm just kidding. I listen. I don't speed. You know that. I don't speed at all. But that is a place that I am so scared to death right now because we're talking about the whole area along the Murrells Inlet Marsh Walk there.
Yeah.
But it extends now actually down almost, I would say, 1.5 miles, 2 miles now.
Yeah.
That has turned to 25. And while I'm going the speed limit, I got cars behind me. I'm like, oh my God, I could hear them. I can read their lips. I'm trying to go to speed limit. Mm-hmm. But I can understand the Marsh Walk area. I'm just trying to figure out why it goes so far.
Well, so there was lots of complaints down there about slowing the speed limit down for years, and
Right.
complaints from Marsh Walk
Yeah.
folks about slowing that speed lock, through the Marsh Walk area. The problem is DOT doesn't do it like that. They won't just take this 100 yards and
say this is 25.
This is 25.
Right.
It comes in areas. There are designated areas of operation for DOT. And so, it's a 1 mile area or a 2 mile, and I couldn't tell you what the regulation says. It's whatever's in the regulation. And so you want to change this little portion, you're going to take this.
All this has got to happen.
You're going to take it with you. Yeah. So there was enough where, there was enough complaints where it seemed like it needed to be done. Now, I did hear that Wachesaw got moved up to 40.
Yep, sure did.
And that's made some people, and I didn't have anything to do with that. That's made some people mad.
Yep. Moved up to 40 over here. Moved down to 30 on Merle's Inlet Road.
Yeah.
That needed to happen. I lived on the corner there at Blaine Drive, and oh my God. But yeah, it moved down there. But I was just wondering, and I'm not opposed to the 25 mile an hour speed limit over there. It doesn't. I mean, 25 to 35 doesn't make a difference to me. But I just think it's like I said, I feel like that guy when I'm sitting there trying to go the speed limit or, a little bit over, but going the speed limit, and then the cars behind me are like, and I'm like, maybe they don't know about the speed limit change. Look at the speed sign. Every time I'd pass one, I want to reach out and go, look.
Well, it's that time of year too where people, there's not as much traffic down there. And so people aren't used to having to go slow. When it's the middle of July and there's 1 million people down there, it's obvious, right?
Yep.
It's obvious. And so you can't change the speed limit back and forth. You can't have a December speed limit and a July speed limit for Merle's Inlet. You got to pick. So, I mean, my choice is I choose to do the safest thing for the most people. And
that's right.
And,
it worked out.
Yeah, I mean, you can't put a 40 mile an hour speed limit down there because in December there's not many people.
Right.
Knowing that in July there's 1 million. It's just not possible.
Well, best of luck to you and all the legislators heading back to Columbia. Safe travels. I know you start burning the road up twice a week, back and forth, and everything else. So y'all are all in our prayers, and may hopefully God grants y'all some powers to make some great decisions up there and keep this wonderful state of ours above the water, floating.
Thank you. I hope so.
And we'll be back next week. We're going to talk fins, fur, and feathers next week. Don't have anybody set up exactly yet, but
we tried though, Inglis. We tried. I reached out to.
You reached out.
I reached out to an anti-hunter. That's
Published.
That's not even strong enough. This lady.
I didn't read it yet, but
this lady is a
animal activist.
Is
correct?
A Harvard philosopher, anti-hunter, animal rights advocate and activist, and her. I wonder if I should call her name so people could listen to her podcast. I'd better not. She may sue me.
Yeah.
But anyway, she is zealous in her advocacy for animal rights. And I listened to a podcast that she did a couple days ago because I always want to hear what that side has to say. I want to know what their arguments are. I want to know if they make cohesive, intelligible arguments because I want to have intelligible arguments.
Right.
And I listened to it. She's a very intelligent lady. She's a lawyer, a philosopher, a PhD in philosophy, teaches at Harvard, and she made a great argument. Although it's not compelling, it's a great argument. And I called her and I emailed her and I wanted her to come on the show and debate me and have a conversation about it. And she basically said, "You'll have to talk to Simon and Schuster," and and I can tell you haven't read my book, so it's a non-starter. And so that was a no, right? That was a no. So we tried.
Yep,
is all I can say.
We tried. We gave him a right. Hey, you know what? I'm
gonna keep working that angle of animal rights activists because I want one to come on here and tell me how we're wrong.
Well, here's what I'm going to say. If somebody called me today and said, "Would you like to come on our show and talk about the Grand Strand Fishing Rodeo?" I would be like, absolutely, immediately, like, tell me what we got to do. Like,
yeah.
So, because it's something I believe in. So, for her to say no is one of the other reasons why I just don't have any respect for him already. I don't even know her. But
I even told her, I said, it'll be a respectful conversation. I mean, I promise you, even if we disagree, it'll be respectful.
Yeah.
And she.
I agree with you, though.
I won't say
doesn't sound like she's going to.
Oh, that was the no. That was the absolute hell no without the courage of saying no.
Yeah, without the courtesy.
Right? I'm going to pass you along to my publisher, Simon & Schuster, who won't answer the phone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's a hell no without having the courage to say no.
But, once again, if she did come on and maybe she did lose against us in a debate about it, it would get somebody fired up, and somebody might go buy her book just to read to see what the craziness is.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll commit to reading her books before she comes on, if she'd come on. I'd love to know. I enjoy reading the opposite side and listening to the opposite side. You got to know what they're going to say. So, yeah, I'll commit to reading.
I'm going to get the name of that podcast as soon as we sign out here, so I can go put it on and listen to it when I got to go take a ride here in a minute.
Yep.
So, anyway, safe travels again this week. And, folks, thanks for tuning in. Remember, click like, subscribe, share, and follow us on social media and over at TrilogyOutdoorsMedia.com. Go find out everything that we offer. And we're going to be back next week and have another guest lined up. As always, it's going to be Fins, Fur, and Feathers right here on Trilogy Outdoors Podcast.
Trilogy Outdoors Podcast is a product of Trilogy Outdoors Media. All views and opinions of our hosts and guests are not necessarily those of our sponsors. Trilogy Outdoors is produced and edited by Trilogy Outdoors Media. Be sure to follow us on all the podcast platforms as well as our social media pages on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And also, don't forget our other brands, Southern English Radio Show and Walk 'Em All Outdoor Magazine. To find more information, visit TrilogyOutdoorsMedia.com. And remember, if it's anything dealing with fins, fur, and feathers, you're going to find it right here on Trilogy Outdoors.